Hey, kindergarten, first grade writers. That's what we're going to be by the end of this. Well, you already are in your journal writing. But we're going to be doing the writing process. And by that, we're also going to be looking at, I brought a little stack. This, this is little for me. Stack of books. We're going to talk a little bit about this stack and then what's in here. So when you do this, so let me just rewind, say over. Letters, we've learned letter sounds and we've learned words. They make up words. The words make up sentences when you put them all together. The sentences make up paragraphs to make a story. And that's what we're going to write, is a story.
Cool.
So when you do writing, a lot of people do it on a computer, or back in the day, a typewriter. If you don't know what one is, ask mom and dad. Or some people still love to do just pen and paper.
I love to write on
Yes.
paper.
So
with a pencil.
that's why we always practice our handwriting. So in here, when you do good handwriting skills, there's a list of things to do. Make sure your pencil is sharp. Make sure you're sitting at a table with your best posture, not your foot up there and laying on the table. I would have shown you examples of that. Taking your time, don't rush through it. If you get tired, then you step away and you come back. Doing the finger touches. Remember, we did those sometimes before we did writing, where we tapped each finger on the thumb twice. That's a great finger tap exercise. Begin each letter at the correct starting point, where we've talked about that, using our house lines and spacing between words. So, for practice today, my finger, sorry.
I'm kind of excited. Does
I know.
everybody, I don't know if this is something I just do or if everybody does it. I make up stories in my head all the time. So it's fun if you get to write them down.
It's because you can do whatever you want to write about. And that's what we're going to start talking and thinking about as we go through different books we read. So on this page, this is just for you to practice if you want, or to keep nearby in case you forget what the letter looks like on the letter lines. Because from here on out, you're going to be doing a lot of writing, right, first grade friends? And those that you leave. So just know you're not going to get away with not writing at all. It's just you're going to have to do it. It is what it is. So computers are great, but not all work is done by a computer. So keep practicing, making sure your teachers can read the words that you're writing. So this is there for you. I even put the numbers on too. So you can trace over it if you want. Mom and dad can make copies of these so you can practice more. But that's on this page. But I wanted to talk about this pile of books I have. There are so many books out there. Raise your hand if you like to look through books, if you like to read books, if you like to, even some of you I know have written books. My first grade friends wrote books last year. So there are books that are fun and funny and silly, and they have different size fonts in them depending on what the book is about. We're also going to talk about illustrations at some point too. Every book has different illustrations. There are books that have are like a journal where it has dates on it, and they talk about what they do during the day. So this Diary of a Fly, it's a funny book. We'll probably read that. There are popular books that you see and you already know what it is without reading, like Cat in the Hat. Other ones that are familiar, where the wild
One
things
of my
are,
favorites.
where they keep selling this. I mean, a lot of people know this book. There are books that are guessing games, so you read riddles and you have to guess what the animal is.
I like those ones too.
Yeah.
Those are fun.
So books like that. There are books that repeat. Like this is the house that Jack built and it repeats it. This is the rat that ate the cheese that lay in the house that Jack built. And it continues that same sentence by adding little bits to it. So books that repeat. There are books that started off, there was an old lady who swallowed a fly. Well, they've made one swallowed a cello, swallowed some books, swallowed a chick. So there's familiar books that they just change the storyline to depending on what the theme is. There are books that are fact books. These are my favorites, where they have real life pictures of animals and then some drawn, and they tell you.
My daughter loves these kind of books.
My son did too. And so fact books, they're long, but you don't have to start from beginning to end. You can just pick a page and read about it. So fact books are great. There are books that are make-believe, but about real life. How many of you know Vincent van Gogh? If you had art with Miss Lisa, you would. And this is about his sunflower painting. So the painting and the person is real, but the story about it is not. They just use a real person in it. There are books written by children. This is actually a book that was written by a student I had in Minnesota a long time ago, Lex. And he wrote this book and had someone else illustrated.
How cool!
Yes, so I have to find it. Where did he sign his name? He even wrote his name for me.
Oh
So
my
it's
goodness.
Autographed. So another book you can write. They just had a publisher and he did it himself. There's books that rhyme. Frog on a Log.
One of my
along with
favorites.
This one. There are books that are done by story, down by song, down by the bay, where the watermelons grow. Song in a book. There are books about people, biographies. So these are just quick ones about Rosa Parks, Albert Einstein, Martin Luther King. Tons, believe me, I have more of these. So if you want to learn about people, this one has cartoons and this one has real life pictures. So depending on what kind of book you like and look at, there's that. So there she is. There are books about Bible stories. So you've got Noah's Ark and the story of Jonah. There are books that are about books. So there's ones like this. I can read with my eyes shut, or Children Who Love Books. There are books that tell you how to write. Little Red Writing, like in writing. Tells you how to write a book. And then there's books about books, and this is the book I'm going to read. Am I good on time?
You are in 6 minutes now, so
Okay.
if you can read that in 9, you're good.
So, Wild About Books. Let's get started. Judy Sierra. I love this book, and I always start this unit with it because it involves.
I actually have never heard this book, so I'm kind of
it's so
excited.
good. Wild About Books. All right. It started the summer of 2002 when the Springfield librarian, Molly McGrew, by mistake drove her bookmobile into the zoo. Molly opened the door and she let down the stair, turned on the computer, and sat in her chair. So a bookmobile is like a library on wheels. And
That would be awesome.
I love it. At first, all the animals watched from a distance, but Molly could conquer the strongest resistance. Look at them all watching. By reading aloud from the good Dr. Seuss, she quickly attracted a mink and a moose, a wombat, an oryx, a lemur, a lynx, 8 elephant calves, and a family of skinks. So she's reading Dr. Seuss right now, The Cat in the Hat.
I was going to actually say the story reminds me of Dr. Seuss when it started.
Mm-hmm. In a flash, every beast in the zoo was stampeding to learn all about this new something called reading. See, even animals would be interested.
Mm-hmm.
Forsaking their niches, their nests, and their nooks, they went wild, simply wild, about wonderful books, choosing thin books and fat books and Cat in the Hat books, and new books and true books and heaps of how-to books. There's so many types of books out there. I just showed you a little bit. Look at them all, looking at different books and how they're reading. Giraffes wanted tall books and crickets craved small books, while geckos could only read stick-to-the-wall books. The pandas demanded more books in Chinese. Molly filled their requests, always eager to please. She even found waterproof books for the otters. Who never went swimming without Harry Potter. So you can even see there's Harry Potter right there, really close up. The giraffe is reading a book about skyscrapers and basketball players because they're all tall. Raccoons read alone, and baboons read in bunches, and llamas read dramas while eating their lunches.
Cute.
Hyenas shared joke books with the red-bellied snakes, and they howled and they hissed till their funny bone ached. The tree kangaroo, who adored Nancy Drew, began solving mysteries right there at the zoo, such as, why were the bandicoots' books overdue? Gently, Molly taught lessons in treating books right. For the boa constrictor, squeeze Crictor too tight. And baby bunnies munched up Goodnight Moon with their paws. Giant termites devoured the Wizard of Oz.
Oh, no.
So yeah, she had to teach him how to treat the books nicely. That got all muddy. Look, he's got Wizard of Oz all. And Bear's love of books was completely outrageous. They licked all the pictures right off the pages.
Oh, we don't like books.
So she had to teach them not to do that. Tasmanian, you can imagine that one. Tasmanian devils found books so exciting that soon they had given up fighting for writing. Oh. They made up adventures so thrilling and new that the others decided to be authors too. Pythons wrote with their tails, penguins wrote with their bills, and porcupines wrote with their very own quills. So a lot of times reading good books leads you to rethinking your very own story. Look at them all writing away. At the new insect zoo, bugs were scribbling haiku. The scorpion gave each a stinging review. So you've got the walking stick wrote one, the dung beetle, the millipede, and the hissing cockroach. They all wrote their own little poems. As the cheetah's new novel began to take shape, he read chapters each night to the Barbary ape. And although the gazelle couldn't spell very well, like everyone else, she had stories to tell. Imagine the hippo's enormous surprise when her memoir was given the Zulitzer Prize. With so many new books, Molly knew what to do. She hired 12 beavers, a stork, and a gnu to build a branch library right there at the zoo. Then the animals cried, "We can do it ourselves. We can check out books. We can check the books out. We can put them on shelves." And they did, and they do. Up to this very day, 3 cheers for the zoobrary. Hip, hip, hooray. When you visit the zoo now, you surely won't mind if the animals seem just a bit hard to find. They are snug in their niches, their nests and their nooks, going wild, simply wild, about wonderful books. So that's what we're going to do. We are going to hopefully go wild about books. I'm going to read you a book each day. We're going to talk about the parts of the book. Many of you already know cover, back cover, and spine. So we're just going to read them, talk about them and what's in them, and then at some point you're going to get to write your very own book. And we'll brainstorm and think about all of that too. So be thinking of what you would write a book about. All right, we'll see you later and have fun reading. Bye.